Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. I I happen to be among them, but that is more that is more because of convention rather than belief. I actually have something else on my mind as of right now. As I mentioned in the first video that has been published this month, uh, my birth country of Romania has had a violent revolution to shake off the government that was in power up until December of '89. And every year in December, specifically in the week before Christmas, to mark off the anniversary of that revolution, pretty much every news channel or half-baked documentarian makes a series of videos or stories about a revolution, about what it was, one more expose and shit like that. And and yeah, that is something that kind of also concerns me. Um, More for its not necessarily because there is any major historical revelation being made there, because I I don't really know enough about those documentaries in order to assess them by their veracity. But it does beg the question of what it takes to make a successful government, which is a question, not that not only my birth country kind of still struggles with, or well, no, it definitely still struggles, but but the question is how severely does it struggle with that question? Various other places around the world also deal with that question, and I thought I would deliver a an answer to that is more or less meant to be in good fun. And to that order, I have thought about the writer's ministerial cabinet. And yes, I'm calling it a ministerial cabinet because I want all the people uh, who fill out the positions of this cabinet to be called ministers rather than secretaries of whatever, as per the American model. I'm trying to I'm trying to internationalize my presentation here, make it more palatable to wide audiences. What is the idea behind this video? Well, the idea is I'm going to be I've selected certain ministries or or state departments for my or departments for my no state departments, I think that's correct, uh, or government departments for my U.S. audiences, uh, uh, which I think would be necessary for in order to form uh, a lean and yet competent governing structure. So these are the people who I would if I were the if I were a head of state, this is the if I were the head of state and could set up a government with like ministries and stuff like that, and allocate what exactly their field of operations would be. This is what I would and this is what I would do. These are the ministries I would set up. And the question then remains: well, who gets to hold these ministerial positions? Uh, well, given I've joked a few times about how my Twitter following is large enough to rival smaller the smallest microstates and autonomous territories around the world, I thought I would look at my Twitter following, with one notable exception I'll get to soon enough, and uh, and sort of and talk about who from that following, or more precisely, which people who are writers and are in that following would would make for good choices in terms of who to fill out various ministerial positions. I do have to admit that I have a little bias. Namely, my bias is that I'm looking at people who are primarily my mutuals, and I'm also looking at people whose work makes me think that they would be effective within any given, within the given field that I am assigning to them. So yeah, with that out of the way, uh, it's time I delved into it. Starting with, how big is this document? Okay, defense. This might be this might be a little weird, concerning I have mentioned that that I have some anarchist leanings. That I would have actually have like a that I would have a government at all is, yeah, somewhat weird. Some might say, but I don't necessarily see that as being the issue. It's more or less, you shouldn't there shouldn't be let's just say there shouldn't be a professionalized government. Like, there can be people whose careers are just, being a politician. Like, rather, I want people who have a certain degree of expertise to get in, to get into certain positions of power. So this is more. So this is less. So this is less uh, a a job as a politician, and more as a job, more a job as the uh, best suited best suited person for a particular field. It's imagine it being your nation's CEO within, within a particular field. In this case, defense. So now that I've cleared that, uh, why do I have a ministry for defense? Why would I allow I allow any kind of state entity to be able to wield violence? Well, because that state entity, uh, because I think in order to effectively protect its citizens, in order to effectively carry out its duties towards its citizens, a state entity has to be able to wield violence, not necessarily internally, but more externally as defense, because other entities, other administrative territorial entities, might not, might want something that is yours, and might think, okay, those people have no formal government, or no formal government we would recognize, so we'll just swoop in and take it. That's kind of what characterized the what characterized the first 10 years after the French Revolution. Actually, that's why it was such a mess. Not necessarily because the people in charge were chronically incapable of being in charge, but because everyone around them was constantly bombarding them, trying to take over. But that's beside the point. I'm not going to go into too much of a history. The important thing to note is I want to include defense because I think that is necessary for a government to, keep its eye on. Also because I think that defending a nation is a task that is so big that really only a government structure can effectively tackle it. Not necessarily from a logistical perspective, but more from an informational and administrative perspective, like such as, oh, this place is under attack. Everyone sound the alarm. Every part of the country then mobilizes to protect that place, because that place is part of the country, and therefore by protecting that place they protect the entire country, which also includes themselves. That kind of thing. And when considering, and there are plenty of options that could fit, because to some extent I have read various versions of war fiction. Oh yeah, by the way, I am prioritizing people who who I've read and reviewed when it comes to filling out these ministerial positions, especially if I can find them on Twitter. There is one exception to that. I'll get to it soon enough. That exception, however, is not now, as my choice for Minister of Defense is PJ Sky. Born and raised in the UK, I am relatively convinced that I now actually live in Australia, given given what I know about their series, Adventures of Hari, and because that really gives me a very that really gives me a very strong Australian vibe. Not to say that Australia, as it stands right now, is a wasteland, though there are plenty of parts that I could describe as such. Rather, there are various elements within that wasteland that do very much, give that feel. But it's not for that I'm placing PJ Sky as my defense minister. Rather, because I think they recognize what it takes to make a military effective, and and namely the meaning of cooperation and the meaning of sacrifice, and even more precisely how it is that those can be uh, twisted or artificially enforced. And having them within this position and being able to respond to issues that I know they place plenty of importance upon is something I consider worthwhile. And for that reason, I think PJ Sky would be the best choice for for this role. Next up, we've got the position of second minister, sometimes called deputy prime minister, sometimes called cabinet minister. Though there are various governments where the deputy prime minister and the cabinet minister are separate positions for various reasons. Not going into that. Um, I'm going with the name second minister because their tasks, as you might have guessed from those alternate names, is to handle the affairs of the cabinet itself. So they would be the person who like takes notes, holds on to conclusions, maybe even leads the cabinet in the absence of a prime minister, or who otherwise steers the conversation, is somewhat of a moderator potentially. And I think you can understand that there is a need for such a person when it comes to a group that is as large and complex, and carrying as many responsibilities as a ministerial cabinet. And for that position, I think the best possible choice is Elizabeth Holland, pictured here with her dog Peanut. Yeah, this will, spoiler alert, not be the first offer picture which also has a pet in it. I have read a lot of Elizabeth Holland's books, and in the past, and I have reviewed plenty of them. Uh, Suffice it to say that actually all of them that I've read, I've also reviewed. And while I don't really see eye to eye when it comes to her stylistic preferences, I very much respect her for her ability to convey information, and for being able to communicate to her audience. And I think having someone who can capture all of the relevant aspects of ministerial activity, and then being able to relay them effectively, and share and show, and maybe even do a little bit of conflict moderation, might be something that is very much necessary within a position such as the one I am assigning to her. So for that reason, Elizabeth Holland as second minister. Next position is economy. From now on, I'm gonna present a few. Ministries in alphabetical order. Don't get too used to it. And the economy is I think quite obvious. Some people might be a little confused as to what is the difference between economy and finance, because there are ministries who there are ministries that sometimes there are occasions when ministries double barrel these, and there are various occasions when they when there are no such when that doesn't occur. I decided to where there are two separate ministries for economy and for finance. For those of you who want to know what the difference is, the economy is how everyone else makes money or manages their affairs. Finance is how the government itself gets money and manages its affairs. I think if there is to be a finance entity within the government, it should probably be a subsection of this ministry, for example, because I find the economy to be somewhat of an of a misunderstood field, like in general, because everyone because people kind of have this impression that it is either the most important thing that has ever existed, or that it simply exists to fluff out egos. And I'm not gonna lie, I was in the fluff out egos position for quite a while, but eventually you realize that there is actually a point to economy beyond fluffing egos, and those people who fluff egos do actually do not do any favors when it comes to the workings of the economy. It's about if I'm to do some word analysis, uh, translating its root word from Greek means something in the sense of common pasture, i.e. Like shepherds. So in other words, it's about the common activities people have when it comes to getting the things they want done and available to them. And that is a that it could be argued that is a complex field. And no, it definitely is a complex field, especially when you look into all of the possible arrays and elements that can flow into it. The most important thing to note, here is the cooperative approach, because I think too many people see the economy as 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, and just activity, just do whatever. That works, but is ineffective. You really need to be able to marry. You really need to think synergistically. You need to look at where it is that that gains can be drawn, and how exactly these gains are administered, and then use them in such ways as to as to assure a high quality of life. And for that goal, I have chosen Rohan O'Doul. Yeah, the second guy here with a pet in the profile pic, and I kind of now just realized that I have 3 different people from 3 different nationalities. Well, okay, PJ Sky might not be Australian themselves, but I'm pretty sure they do live in Australia. And then we had Elizabeth from England, and now we got the Irish boy Rohan here. Rohan has so far written a lot of cyberpunk, which means that he has a clear level of understanding when it comes to influence and productivity, and I think him being able to work with those, being able to influence those factors, will lead to could lead to, or rather, I know that he understands these these influencing factors, and I think he would be, of all the potential candidates, I think he has the best shot at really administering them towards a productive goal. And productive here not used in the numeric sense, but in the but in the more abstract sense, in the sense of making sure that that people receive receive that which they work for, or that which benefits them best. Next up, we've got education. One that is a field that is so very simple to mess up. Like, you would not believe. By the way, this is grape juice, in case you're wondering. I don't really think I need to tell you why education is important, but I will say one thing. A lot of people see education as a pathway from from being from childhood to employment. That is not what education is. And I do admit I do kind of fall into that myself when it comes to when it comes to my own employment, because I was I was a child. Now now I have a formal education behind me. I got degrees and stuff. Now get me in your company, give me money. But in truth, the problem is a little bit more complex. It's because it's not just about a singular point of development. It describes a more long-lasting process of development. One that isn't one size fits all, but one that allows people to identify within themselves that which makes them strong, that which they find interesting, and that which they want to spend their time on. It's about finding a holistic approach to to yourself and to your own well-being. And I think and while I do have some people who have experience in education within my following, and who I have also reviewed, I think the person best suited for this position would be Rosalind Breyer. Congratulations on your baby, by the way, Rosalind. Though I'm pretty sure you've heard that a whole bunch of times by now. Anyway, the point is, Rosalind, when looking through her work, it's quite clear that she has that holistic sense of the world, that she understands her messaging and her targets, and that she is capable of thinking in that immersive and personalized manner, something that would allow for a more personalized sense of growth, and therefore a more fulfilled sense of personal development. For that reason, Rosalind Breyer is my Minister of Education. And once again, I can't help but notice that there is a different person of a different nationality from within my cabinet. That's 4 so far, with 4 ministries. And funnily enough, this will not be. There will be more that come in. But until then, we'll touch upon energy. Some of you might wonder, why is energy why energy is its own field. Well, I have some thoughts on that. Namely, the fact that everything we know runs on energy, or more specifically, it runs on electricity. Therefore, if you are to be successful as a country, you need to have a good overview of what your resources are, over how it is that you can gain and you can use and gain energy. For that reason, you really need an energy ministry. Also because some recent ish developments have shown that it is more helpful to have to have a large grid uh, and and a stronger sense of centralization and of versatility, flexibility, then could be possible for smaller entities. So for that reason I am choosing to have a Ministry of Energy, and the Minister of Energy I am choosing is Stephen William Hanna, the most recent person who has become eligible to get listed into this ministerial cabinet. I admittedly only know Stephen through the lens of the one book of his that I've reviewed so far. But within that one book, I have seen a lot of flexibility, and I have seen a lot of insight, and I think he understands quite a bit about what it takes to keep a giant and complex, sometimes fidgety, sometimes very temperamental uh, entity operating. And even if he doesn't do it himself, he just has to cooperate it. Uh, I still get the impression that he knows what that would take, the kind of vision that would entail. So, admittedly, it's a little bit of an it's a little bit of an asspull, but uh, my choice for Minister of Energy, Stephen William Hanna. Also, I should mention he's Scottish, so but I'm not sure if that counts as a separate entity, as a separate nationality, given England and Scotland are both are both United Kingdom. I'm gonna say it doesn't, and no, just move on. Or rather, it's not that I know he's Scottish. I assume he's Scottish because you know his book contains some pretty strong indications of that being the case. Yeah, maybe I'm just generalizing, in which case I apologize. Uh, anyway, I've said enough on this. Let's move on. With environment, or the natural world, what we see when we go outside of the cities. That can mean that can mean forest. That can mean swampland. That can mean uh, anything else. And this is another field that I find is somewhat misunderstood because people don't really see the importance of having uh, of having uh, money, government funds, or in general efforts spent towards spent towards keeping things that they don't consider to be part of their surroundings, which is their city or their village, in any way, because they see it as this is my castle. Nothing else outside it really makes a difference to me. Well, the truth is, a lot of what is outside of you does make a difference to you, and not just in terms of what other people do, but also in terms of what tools those other people have at their disposal, and more precise, and even when it comes to the environment itself, or when it comes to the natural world of the country, how exactly that is administered. There is a saying in I think you're familiar with. For those unfamiliar with deep ecology, the idea is that people aren't above nature; they are a part of nature, and it is very much that holistic approach. That approach that what people do affects the environment, and therefore what the changes of the environment also affect the people. So it is important to keep that. So it is important to keep that contained, and to um, and to preserve the and to preserve, or make efforts as to have the environment stay within a particular set of parameters that makes it still usable, still engaging, or that still allows us to uh, live within it. And when it comes to that perspective, that being able to bring that holistic perspective into like into actual implementation, I think the best possible choice is Lydia V. Russell, the second English woman on this on this list. Lydia has shown that she has that holistic approach or that holistic vision to her, and that she has a pretty good understanding of interconnectivity, and of making and of exploring how it is that people are a part of their environment, and of that particular reciprocal dynamic, and what it is that makes both of these entities that are artificially separate both dangerous and beneficial to each other. And for that reason, I think she would be the best fit for this position. So, Lydia V. Russell, my Minister of Environment. Next up, we've got External Affairs. I think in the U.S. it's called a State Department. This is the ministry that rules or assesses upon how the current government interacts with all other governments around the world, and how this and how they and more precisely how the nation situates itself or relates to various other governments within the world. As a citizen of the EU, this is a position I hold to some I consider particularly important because of everything that is tied to that, and all the benefits that brings. But even beyond that, the this ministry, I think, requires being able to keep not necessarily societies, but people, representatives, and groups in touch. It means being able to form connections, and being able to perpetuate and strengthen that which makes one's own country successful, and allows it to flourish when in relation to not just in relation to others, but also with the help of others. Something that keeps positive relationships to everyone else. The first line of defense when it comes to maintaining a high standard of living when it comes from external dangers. So I went into some really dark place, even though I didn't mean to, because most of this ministry is actually very much relational, and is very much about finding common points of interest, and about being able to identify and communicate with other people in a way that allows for that mutually beneficial communication. To that end, I have chosen as my External Affairs Minister E.S. Barrison. This picture is actually taken off of Goodreads, and I'm not sure what her. I have to admit, I do not know what her nationality is, though I know she's Latina, but beyond that, no clue. I think she's from the USA, which means, does that make her the first? Does that make her the first on this list? I kind of think it does, yeah. Anyway, moving on. It is through her work she actually explores a lot of those questions. about what it is that makes people distinctive, about the power of words, and about what it means to build communities, and what it means to share cultures, share stories, and why that is, and what the meaning of that is, and more precisely how that how if you can how you can control people if you control what it is that they what it is that they say. So it is in that sense a very interesting perspective, and it is one that I think I would want to have represented when it comes to dealing with other administratively territorial entities. So for that reason, E.S. Barrison gets to be my Minister of External Affairs. Next up, the mirror version of that, Internal Affairs. So yeah, this describes how various state entities that aren't controlled by a specific ministry are handled. A lot of times that means policing, because that is something that is often brought under this umbrella. However, keep in mind I do have some anarchist leanings, and I do want to experiment a little bit with either defunding the police or abolishing the police, which means that this ministry would go into some other directions, other directions perhaps, such as food banks, such as perhaps emergency housing, such as emergency services, such as road safety, such as other forms of infrastructure management, to some extent. So this is, to some degree, this could be considered this could to some extent be considered the miscellaneous ministry, and it requires I do see that it requires a broad overview, but it does also mean that you need to be able to negotiate various fields in such a way as to emphasize their their importance and keep them running. Oh, also various entities concerned with health and safety that would be managed by the state, such as entities for food safety, industrial safety. I think I already mentioned housing, buildings in general. So yeah, stuff like that. And I think the person best suited for the vast degree of the large degree of tasks that this ministry would require be addressed is River J. Hopkins, also known as Cyborg Writer, also known as Pseudo-Numb, if I'm not mistaken. I think she has the capability of forming this this good and that strong and that expansive overview, and it is her, and I think she has and I think she also has the temperament of making sure that all of these entities not necessarily stay in place, but perform as they should. So for that reason, I'm gonna say River J. Hopkins, my Internal Affairs Minister. Kicking away from the row of alphabetically ordered ministries, we now reach health. Health should perhaps be very obvious, because if you're not healthy, you can't do anything, and in fact, the government has to spend to keep you to keep you alive. So making sure that that works well is quite necessary. And I would rather not have the private sector you know uh, handle that, because well, the private sector can pretty much make money off of keeping you sick, and then one and is incentivized to make money, and it does so by keeping you sick. And the thing is that by keeping you sick, it uh, keeps every other field poor. So I'd rather not delve into that series of mistakes. I'd much rather have a centralized-ish level of in, administration, so to speak. The actual logistical efforts of hospitals, it's not like this ministry would single-handedly manage every single hospital, but they would perhaps manage which which hospitals gets authorized, and how much funding they receive. So they might have relatively limited relatively limited capabilities compared to what some people fear. It still is an important field, and it extends a little bit, and it actually extends beyond just the confines of a hospital. It describes it is a more general in a more general terms. It describes what makes this field, what makes the uh, I'm having a little bit of brain fart because I've been filming for a while. it it is basically about care. It is about being able to provide assistance and provide support for the populace, and that is not just through hospitalization, but that is also through what is called ambulant care, or through in general through being able to mobilize them, through being able to keep them in a position where they can go on with the rest of their lives, which once again requires a more holistic view of the profession, like I've emphasized with other ministries. And I have to admit, of all the ministries that I have listed so far, I am most tempted to double barrel this one, even though I'm generally opposed to barreling ministries. And I would double barrel it with sport, because a lot of countries have ministries of youth and sport, but actually I think health and sport makes a little bit more sense, because it makes more sense to keep people physically active beyond just their youth, and I think that kind of structure would emphasize that. Still, I chose not to do so. Another possible double barreling I could have done: economy and entrepreneurship, but I decided against that because reasons. Anyway, for for the Ministry of Health, I think the person in charge should be Ilinca Mănescu. The only person on here that I have neither met nor am in touch with on Twitter. This is actually from her personal Facebook page. The previous two photos were from the author's Goodreads pages, by the way. So, and in case you're wondering how I met Miss Mănescu, I actually explained that in my review of her book. But anyway, I'm listing her, even though there are a few other people with medical expertise whose books I read and reviewed. I think she is the one who best sees is best capable of grasping and implementing that social aspect of healthcare and of medicine. And it is for that reason that because she has a strong understanding of what it is that makes people what it is that people need in order to um, in order to lead healthy and successful lives. and that shines through in how it is that she has how it is that she discusses her book. And I think she is very capable of very capable of translating that in a larger field, such as such as working in a senior government position. So for that reason, I Minister of Health, Ilinka Mănescu. Next up, we've got labor. This is this is a perhaps the most interesting ministry I have on this list, because a lot of people already have a lot of countries have a ministry of economy, and sometimes double barreled that with labor. There are times when a ministry of labor, if it exists at all, is double barreled with something like industry or entrepreneurship or something like that. I have I have chosen against that for a variety of reasons, because labor is about it's basically about workers' rights. It's about making sure that uh, it's about making sure that the capabilities and well-being of people who work are are respected, or more precisely, that the people that workers are given the opportunity to do so itself, because you can't always rely on the market to do so. Um, because if you need a $20 an hour salary to accomplish whatever tasks you're interested in, if you're not going to get that if everyone only offers $15 an hour. There is none of them really has any reason to none of them really has any reason to adjust uh, their offer for you. Like yeah, a lot of right wingers would like to say that, oh, that means you're not worth it. It doesn't mean you're not worth it. It means those people think you're not worth it. The and you might say, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're not worth it, or that they're right. It might look as though they're right, but that can have external factors. And I think that is something that is what this ministry will look at, those externalities that make sure that to make sure that people's work is rewarded appropriately. Alternatively, it also makes sure that it is not just people's work that is related. It also assures that people's inability to work isn't punished. So, for example, if you get injured at your job, that you don't get fired, something like that. It's about those protections that people can be given, compared to each other. A lot of it is more similar to I mean to if I can draw a little bit of a parallel to my adoptive country, Germany, which has a federal ministry for for families, youth, elderly, and chance equality. That kind of thing. And for this position as Minister of Labor, I think my most appropriate choice is Jiran Jaishao. I have no clue if I said that correctly, and I think they, sorry, well, I can say they are the second non-binary minister, and I think they might be the second Canadian I've mentioned so far. I've I've no basically this I do admit this position relies less on the book they've actually put out, and more on what I know about their online presence. And because I very much know know they're kind of a shit poster, but they do have a point behind this shit post, the shit posting, and I think their aggression and sarcasm really allows them to cut through a lot of the bullshit that people surround themselves with, and they would be quite capable of bringing that level of that level of maybe not that level, but would be able to bring what is necessary in order to have in order to fuck another brain fart. I think they are most capable of cutting through the bullshit people surround themselves with, and make sure that that the conditions and that the conditions in place are not just respected, but also that the conditions in place are constantly updated in order to ensure that they are indeed the ones that are most necessary for the for the general populace. So for that reason, sorry for the sorry for the misgendering. Shiran Zhaizhao, my Minister of Labor. Next up, we've got communication. There are plenty of entities, and mostly I mean states. For example, here in Germany, that have a ministry for either networking or the internet, and I understand what it's going for, but I think keeping it just at that is a little bit limiting, and there are bigger issues when it comes to communication and to what it is that this field actually requires in order to be in order to be successful, in order to actually legit stand out. And for that reason, I have chosen to look at communication as a whole, because that doesn't mean just that on some extent that means internet. That means ensuring that there is an internet infrastructure, ensuring that that level of communication and of information exchange is available to most people. But that, however, the duties of such a ministry would not extend just to just to the internet, but to basically any field where people can autonomously exchange information. That would include libraries. That would include that could include postal services, and maybe a few others that I can't really think of right now. It is a, I'm not gonna say it's a big field anymore, because this is nationwide. Everything is fucking big, but it does require a very specific very specific temperament, something and a position that really allows one to in a position that really allows one to see for themselves. No. It's a field that requires a very specific temperament, and it is a field that that requires one to place themselves in a certain set of expectations in order to ensure that this aspect of how societies work is actually effective and actually performs its job. In order to carry out that task, I think the person best suited is Chuck Tingle. Yes, really. I haven't read a lot of his work, but I have read his more his more serious stuff, and I have to say that within that I find I actually find a very sensitive but also very fierce personality, and I see someone who can can really delve into a whole slew of issues without without fear, and who is able to handle them in a respectful and appropriate manner, and who can present an effective present a series of effective results when it comes to this specific line of work. So for that reason, Chuck Tingle is my Minister of Communication. Oh yeah, also TV and radio. I probably should have mentioned those as well. Next up, we've got transportation. remember what I said earlier about internal affairs handling road safety? Well, that could still work, but the actual roads themselves, as well as trains, as well as streetcars, as well as various intermediate forms of travel, as well as an airport infrastructure, as well as airport infrastructures. Those would all fall under the requirements of this ministry. Perhaps even broader concerning the perhaps even broader when we look at the security and well-being uh, of vehicles themselves. That would also fall here. So yeah, I think it is quite easy to understand why freedom of mobility, freedom of movement is very important to a state, considering that is the one thing that is taken away when when most people are found guilty. They are put in prison. We tell them this is where you will stay and you cannot move anywhere else. So ensuring the opposite of that, ensuring that people can go wherever it is they want, or have the opportunity to go wherever it is they want, is something that is very important, especially within a modern state, especially within a state that aims to allow people to come to their um, highest realizations, so to speak. And I have to admit, I kind of scraped the bottom of the barrel when it came to this, when it came to this ministry, because I looked for my first option for this ministry, and it turns out they got banned from Twitter or something like that. So I searched for a while, and I found Megan Douglas. Funnily enough, yeah, the I think this is the first cabinet member who I'm sure is Australian. And funnily enough, the person she's replacing was Andre Jones, was also Australian. Her field of expertise isn't actually within transportation. She's a scientist, and I think she graduated biology. That is still somewhat her field of expertise. But I think she has still gathered enough enough knowledge from other fields in order to perhaps apply it here. But even beyond that, transportation has a lot of standards to it, and I think she would be quite capable of ensuring that these standards are applied wherever. So for that reason, I think Megan Douglas is my best choice for Minister of Transportation. Next up, we've got Justice. Yeah, this is a major position for perhaps obvious reasons. Justice is one of those fields that a lot of people strive for, but not necessarily everyone can reach. It is an ideal upon which modern societies are built. It is the idea of making sure that people are equal under the law. It is about making sure that there is a way to mitigate to mitigate the harm, and to control what it is that people can and to control what the harmful effects that that can lead to the dissolution or the dysfunction of a society. It is it is very much a field that you can look at as a series of prescripts, but actually law is a complex and ever evolving field. One that requires careful monitoring and a good focus uh, on what it is that makes it distinctive. and I think there are. I'm pretty sure there are some offers I've looked into who have some experience as legal professionals, but I have for this position chosen someone who doesn't really have that experience, but instead has a very different one that I nevertheless consider uh, important to important to the implementation of this ministry's duties. And that person is Casey Kells. Yeah, great little great little profile photo here. Uh, she is she has pretty much come to prominence for for writing her memoir as an essay survivor, and then her next book was specifically about how social biases have led to um, led to, among other things, justice being skewed. She's in that way uniquely attuned to to the specific ways in which justice can be uh, bent or altered um, or changed, and that is something I want to, and I think that is something that she is uh, most capable of directly addressing, and that is a perspective that I would want to see within brought within my cabinet. So for that reason, Casey Kills, Minister of Justice. And now we move on to, last but not least, the position of Prime Minister. There are some countries where the Prime Minister is not just the head of government, but also the head of state. I'm not going to bother you with the differences between those now because reasons. I will, however, say that the Prime Minister is basically in charge of making sure that all of the people I have presented so far, or that the cabinet they themselves have to manage, is carrying out their duties in as strong a manner as possible. It is the Prime Minister's job to maybe not keep the peace, but keep the efficiency and effectiveness of their organization, and to deliver results. Make sure that everything that describes or that necessitates government intervention is actively addressed and is actually handled upon. And in many ways, uh, a go between for the for the actual government apparatus and common people, who in some instances can, as I said, can take over as as head of state or president. And my choice for Prime Minister, drumroll please, is Kira of the Wind, aka Erica McCorkle. Let's see. Yeah, that's how far the pages go. That was a little bit messed up because of the displays. Anyway, as I've said, my choice of Prime Minister, Erica McCorkle. I was actually considering showing some runners up for the various positions that I would be talking about. However, that would pretty much have spoiled this last position because there are many points where Erica herself was my runner up. She has shown in a lot of cases to have a very broad, very plenary, very holistic understanding of what it is that makes societies work, and what exactly it is that makes people want to live in a place. What exactly it is that they value and consider important, and how exactly they choose to implement that. her work is in many ways on just another level. Like she is far and away uh, perhaps one of the most far-reaching authors I am personally aware of, who touches upon um, upon a large degree of a large number of fields and points of interest, and it is through that realization that I think and it's through these through these aspects that I think she has a she has a great level of understanding in terms of what it is that makes in terms of what it is that makes this what makes this what it is that makes a government work, or just in general function, what it is that makes it um, able to deliver the results that are expected from it. And so I think she is the best fit for the prime minister position. And that was it. That was the McCorkle government under myself as head of state, because this list is made up from my following, more or less, with my health minister being externally sourced. I'll allow it. I'm the head of state. I can do that. And yeah, that was that was the topic of this video. That was all. Ugh, can't talk anymore. And yeah, that was the video. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video and maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add to my choice of either ministries or ministers, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and The Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective links in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I would suggest you check out should you choose to. Who knows, my books might make for a good last minute Christmas gift. Additionally, you have the option of supporting me on Patreon as well. That would be a very welcome Christmas gift for for me, if you so choose. Where, depending on the level at which you pledge, you will receive various perks, such as, for instance, early access to my videos and scripts, both for this channel and my second one, because yes, I also have a second channel, where I talk about whatever it is that interests me. Yeah, that was pretty much what I had to say now. Until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair. Merry Christmas, by the way.